She didn't just talk about fashion. She wore it. Her choices, on red carpets, on posters, even in private, weren't random. Her outfits told the story she had helped write. The model, who was neglected by the designers in Europe and dismissed from the runways there, was somehow in the room, at the table, on the credits, and in charge. When Heidi Klum joined a small development meeting about a fashion competition show, she wasn't just the model brought in to smile for the pitch. She had questions, ideas, a sense of structure, and an instinct for what might work. It wasn't her world yet, but she knew how to enter it. What would become Project Runway began as little more than a vague ambition from a powerful film producer. He had done something similar in film. Why not try it in fashion? But he didn't know the terrain. Heidi did. She brought in Desiree Gruber from her own team, helped shape the format, and worked challenge by challenge through what would become one of television's most unlikely long-running hits. At the time, no network believed in the concept. Who would want to watch people sew? Who cared about fashion that wasn't worn by celebrities? She pitched it anyway.
But how do you make that pitch? I mean, what is it that you say to say...
You walk in with Heidi Klum.
Hi, I'm Heidi Klum. I want to do a television show.
I wasn't wearing a lot. I did my wing trick.
Meeting after meeting, format deck in hand, tailoring the pitch as she had tailored her own career, quietly, deliberately, against expectation.
And a lot of networks, they weren't interested in it. You know, in the very beginning, I went to all the pitch meetings and tried to explain to them why it would be interesting to watch designers make clothes. And a lot of them didn't get it. They were like, why would we want to watch people make clothes? Like, why is this interesting? Now, when you're in the industry and you have been behind the scenes, you know, and I have at fittings and being with designers, you know, when they try things out on you and this goes off and no, how is the hem, where should it be? And obviously not for me as much in detail, obviously, as for you, but, you know, looking behind the scenes is so interesting.
When Bravo finally picked it up, it was with some reluctance. But from the first episode on, it was clear. The model they thought they had hired to decorate the format was in fact shaping it. It was Klum who helped define the tone, the tempo, the tension. And it was Klum who insisted the show be about real designers. Not personalities, not drama, not elimination for entertainment. Along the way, a quiet figure emerged behind the scenes. The producers brought him in as an academic advisor, someone who could give structure, not spectacle. He had no media experience. Gunn had spent decades teaching at Parsons, the New York design school ranked among the top 3 in the world, a place that had shaped generations of working designers. He was a mentor, and there was something about his cadence, his restraint, his clarity, what felt very special. And just like that, the show had a conscience, a rhythm, a direction. Tim Gunn, still relatively unknown to viewers, became the show's second anchor. While Klum stood front and center, Gunn offered structure and silence. He brought a kind of ethical frame, an elegance that balanced the spectacle. They weren't designed to be a pair, but they became one. They built the format that would redefine fashion television and become a platform no one saw coming. But behind the scenes, there was fear. No one was sure this would work. Tim Gunn later recalled standing in a dark corner of the set, whispering to a lady beside him that this might collapse before it even aired.
This person certainly didn't know who I was, and we're watching the judging, and she turns to me and she whispers, "Who's going to want to watch this?" I said, "Oh God."
Heidi was nervous too, well aware that if this failed, her name would fail with it. The early days were messy. There were no dressing rooms, no proper spaces. The catering was bad, the budget tight. It felt like television made out of duct tape and instinct.
You know, and especially our catering from the very beginning, it wasn't really that great. I mean, we kind of have better catering now over the years, but in the beginning especially, it was mainly like Cheetos and a few other chips and nuts and stuff all day. And so we would eat a lot of Cheetos, and we were like constantly had to be dusted off because we had Cheeto fingers, orange fingers, and yeah.
By the time Project Runway premiered, Heidi Klum wasn't just its host, she was its architect. She had influence over casting, tone, pacing. Heidi understood that style wasn't just in the garments. It was in how the show moved, in how it spoke in its own unique way, and what it chose to value. She argued for real stakes. She insisted on clarity. She kept the camera on the process, not just the performance. Despite all uncertainty, the very first season earned an Emmy nomination. It was a quiet confirmation that the industry had noticed what they were building. Under Heidi's guidance, Project Runway would go on to receive nominations, and in 2008, the prestigious Peabody Award, one of the highest recognitions in television, typically reserved for cultural or journalistic excellence. In 2009, the show received an Emmy for Outstanding Picture Editing for Reality Programming. And in 2013, Heidi and Tim Gunn were awarded the Emmy for Outstanding Host for a Reality Competition Program. Over the years, the show collected 49 nominations in total, 28 of which named Heidi as host and/or producer. The streak ended when she stepped away. As ratings climbed, Klum gained leverage. She stepped further into the role of producer. She negotiated directly with sponsors. She set the tone behind the scenes as firmly as she did on screen, while other judges rotated. Designers came and went. But the rhythm of the show, its balance of pressure, wit, beauty, and craft, was unmistakably hers. Success brings attention, and attention brings terms. As Project Runway gained traction, so did the business behind it. What had started as a scrappy passion project was now a polished machine. But behind the camera, not everything had kept pace. At the end of the first season, Tim Gunn sat with the winning designer in a quiet corner of Grand Central Station, reviewing the prize contract.
15% of his design work, his teaching work, if he worked at McDonald's, it would be 15% forever.
The clause came directly from the Weinstein Company. The contestant refused to sign. Tim backed him. Gunn wrote to the producers, expressed concern, threatened them with leaving, and received the answer. That clause is gone. But years later, in season 13, Gunn would find out it wasn't true. He encouraged a young contestant to rework his strongest designs from the show for his senior thesis. The student looked at him and said, "I'm not allowed to. We don't own any of it."
What do you mean you're not allowed to? We're not allowed to have access to anything that we did on the show. The Weinstein Company owns everything. I said, what?
And behind it all, the same name, Harvey Weinstein, the same company that had told him otherwise years before. Gunn confronted them again. Emails, meetings, quiet pressure, and again a quiet reversal. The clauses were removed retroactively, but something had changed. Perhaps it wasn't a single moment. Perhaps it was the gradual shift of tone, the sense that something was changing. More visibility meant more voices, but the shape kept shifting. Contracts, obligations, sponsored challenges, the kind that's never official but always felt. By the time season 16 ended, Heidi Klum had done everything to keep Project Runway true to its shape. When the rights returned to Bravo in 2018, she and Gunn were quietly excluded. Not fired, just not called. And so, they met. They reflected. And then, together, they let it go.
I don't think I should answer any questions on that just because it's still all a little bit...
But Heidi had already a way out. Amazon offered them something unexpected, a blank page, a global platform, and most importantly, execution. What Project Runway had always lacked, a bridge between creativity and commerce, a format that wouldn't stop at critique, but carried the work into the world. Heidi didn't want to build another show. She wanted to build a system, one that mirrored her own career, one that proved commercial success and creative clarity didn't have to be opposites, something she always wanted to implement in Project Runway. Making the Cut was born from that idea, not as a competition for sewing machines and tight deadlines, but for concepts, identities, and sales.
Here we go. How exciting!
Finally, it's happening! Hi, everyone. Welcome to Making the Cut. Yes!
Heidi and I teamed up with Amazon to launch the next
global fashion business.
Making the cut, making the cut, making the cut.
We are like proud parents.
The premise was simple, but radical. Design something people want. If it wins, it's produced and sold globally, immediately. Not someday, now, online, on Amazon.
I can't wait to see what they have done.
I can't wait for you to see.
I love the glitz. I love the glam.
We have 10 very talented designers from around the world. Who's going to be the next great global fashion brand?
The winner of Making the Cut will receive $1 million! And each fashion show, the winner's accessible look with additional color options and companion pieces will be available on Amazon in the Making the Cut store.
She chose the panel and shaped the tone. The rhythm of the show, subtle, elegant, deliberate, was entirely hers. It moved with precision, but never rushed. Strategic, but never cold. She gave it shape, texture, timing. It was closer to what she had once envisioned. She gave designers more than feedback. She gave them shelf space. Some viewers hesitated, but for Heidi, every shipped look was proof.
Our mission remains the same.
We're here to find the next great global fashion brand. Go from your heart and don't be afraid.
The format hadn't failed. Amazon not continued after 3 seasons. Probably it wasn't successful enough or brought an Emmy. Television rarely offers a second entrance. But 5 years after leaving Project Runway, Heidi Klum returned to the stage she helped create with more visibility than ever. The show is relaunching on Disney+. The marketing campaign is massive. Trailers, interviews, press features. It isn't just another season, it is an event. And Heidi stands at the center.
Let's meet the judges.
Tim Gunn wasn't asked back this season. Heidi reached out, she texted him, inquired about his contract, and as he recalled, she was really upset. "I'm fighting for you. I'm fighting for you." But ultimately, he wasn't invited. Christian Siriano, once a winner, now stood as mentor. How the chemistry would shift, no one could say yet. But his presence brought its own kind of continuity. Heidi, meanwhile, returns not just as host, but again as executive producer. With decades of visibility behind her and the full force of promotion around her, she steps back into the format she once shaped. But reality TV isn't what it used to be. The stakes have shifted. Expectations, too. No one knows yet how this new version will land, but the campaign suggests it matters. And Heidi is once again at the center of it. Project Runway changed because of her, not just the format, but the tone. She shaped how fashion could be framed for the world. And then she wore it. She wore the winning designs. She wore the silhouettes others had doubted. She wore the future of designers who had barely started. On covers, on carpets, in campaigns, sometimes days after the final stitch. When she returned, it wasn't just to stand behind the concept again. It was to inhabit it, to carry its best ideas on her own body. That's what made the difference. It was about saying, fashion lives in what you're willing to put on and show the world. Will Project Runway earn another Emmy now that she is back?